So it's a rainy day in Zion. It's my last day here, and it was predicted for snow. Well, we haven't gotten snow in the low elevations, but it's definitely snowing up on the peaks. So what I'm doing so far today is driving around the valley floor, aiming up and looking up at the beautiful snow-covered mountains and peaks, and with mist swirling around and maybe some trees in the foreground. It's always a challenge working in the rain, have all the rain gear for the cameras and for myself. But it's really beautiful here, and really nice, calm, peaceful time to be in Zion. So later I think I'll head up to the east side and see what it's like up there. Might just be in the mist up there, but it could be really good too. So I'm going to finish driving around the valley floor here and see what other compositions I can find, and we'll keep exploring. This rainy, dreary morning really called out for black and white, and it was fun to play with the peaks covered with snow, dark at the bottom, dark stormy clouds swirling around. It certainly looks like it felt that day, sort of ominous and brooding and foreboding, and I really like this image. I worked on a lot of these trees with the cliffs rising over top of them. Most of them were not successful, but I like this one pretty well. The two trees combined with the sort of two peaks and the clouds swirling around. It feels kind of nice, especially with the fog sort of in the middle there. And it's definitely exactly what it felt like that day. Just moody and misty and dark and rainy, and a very fun, exciting time to be in Zion. And finally, another tree image. I really like this one because of the little bit of fall color hanging on in the upper left. And I really like the branches arching over and the other two trees coming up sort of underneath and sort of being protected and sheltered by those other branches. And this is one of those that looked really stunning on the back of the camera. And when I got it into Lightroom, it didn't look so good. And I actually had to pull the camera out and see what it was, how the camera was processing that JPEG on the back of the camera to figure out how I wanted to process this. A little bit cool, and some of the blue from the background coming through is exactly what I wanted. And I really like this quiet, rainy image. Maybe better give this some thought. Well, I know this is one of the most iconic scenes in Zion, but with the snow, I really like it. And I like this angle on it too, kind of the reverse angle. So, I'm pretty happy with this picture, and I'm glad I drove all the way up here in the icy conditions to see this. So I've got my 80-160 on the Pentax, and I'm at 80mm f/16, about a 20th of a second. Wow, that's just lovely. What a beautiful time to be here in Zion in the upper plateau with the snow. A few minutes ago, while I was photographing in the other direction, I heard this loud noise from behind me. I turned around and there was an avalanche coming down this cliff face. It went on for probably 15 or 20 seconds. I'm glad I wasn't in the path of that. This was my first image after arriving on the upper plateau. I really like these two little trees. They look like a nice little pair. I'm not sure I'm crazy about the streaks of snow or rain at the bottom that shows up against the sandstone, but it does give the feeling of what was happening at the time with the precipitation. So all in all, I really like this quiet little image. I said on camera while I was photographing this little juniper that it's one of the icons of Zion. That's probably a little too strong, but it's certainly one of the most photographed trees, I think, especially from the other side because the road runs very near this and everyone who drives by can see it easily. I photographed it a couple times from the other side, but I really wanted to do something different and feel very fortunate today that I was able to get this with snow. I think it really highlights how harsh the conditions are and how this little guy has clung on to that sandstone for many, many years. And I'm really pleased with this image. And right at my feet while I was photographing that little juniper is this interesting little abstract detail. It's an icy surface over top of the sort of slick rock ground. I have no idea why these circular ice forms are occurring, but I think it's kind of a neat juxtaposition of tones and forms, and I really like this one. Many people who come to Zion are familiar with the subway and that interesting long crack that is in the ground as you are approaching the main part of the subway. This day I found another crack that I had never seen before. This one's on the upper plateau, it's right by the road, it's just down in one of the little washes. I've probably driven by it 100 times in all the years I've been to Zion, but I've never noticed it before, probably because I'd never been there in the rain. So this day there was a nice flow of water through it, and it was fun to work on several different compositions here. I first photographed it with the Pentax, and I had to stop the lens down a good bit to get it all in focus, but I wanted to try my tilt shift adapter, so I tried that on the Sony, and I think that image is a little sharper. I thought this was a really neat opportunity, and I wish I'd made video of this while I was photographing it, but it was raining pretty hard at this point, and I got totally soaked, as did all my gear, and it just wouldn't have been practical to shoot video at the same time. I did have to scramble down an icy, snowy slope to get to this spot, and that would have been funny to have on camera. But anyway, this little crack is very interesting. It's maybe 20 or 30 yards long, and it's sort of on a steep slope. It's not real flat, so it's a little tough to stand and work, especially when it's slick, as it was in the rain this day. But I really like this thing, and I think it's neat to be able to work on the same kind of subject like you have at the subway without the 4-hour hike to get there. As the light begins to fade, and I leave the East Side Plateau for the last time, I have a real sense of melancholy as my time in the Southwest comes to a close. The last day of a photography trip is always difficult, and one I don't look forward to. Whether it's saying goodbye to my companions, or to a very special place like Zion, it's hard to let go of the camaraderie, the concentrated image making, and the special bond that develops between a photographer and the landscape he's been exploring. I had these identical feelings as a kid when a weekend camping or hiking trip would end, and they are just as strong today. But I'm very pleased with the many images I've made here and the special conditions I've witnessed, and I'm sure I'll return again to recapture that feeling of exploration, discovery, and awe that keeps us all looking for the next image. Well, the sun is setting on my last day in Zion. Even though the light and the conditions are pretty terrible right now, I find I'm having a hard time willing to drive out of the canyon. And I've just taken one last loop around to look at everything and enjoy. It's been a number of years since I've been here, and who knows when I might be back. But hopefully the memories and some of the images will last a lifetime. So that's it for this series of videos on my winter trip to Death Valley and Zion National Parks. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed these stories as much as I've enjoyed bringing them to you. So what can you expect coming up on this new channel? Well, I've already taken my spring trip. It was to the Smoky Mountains, and I look forward to bringing that to you in the coming weeks. And there should be a fall trip as well. I almost always go somewhere interesting in the fall, so we can look forward to that. And I had a couple other special project type videos that I shot in the Appalachians while I was up in the Smokies on that spring trip, so you can look forward to those. And also, I have started shooting film again. Now, I shot large format 4x5 film for over 20 years, and then for the last 10 years I've been using the medium format digital. But I've started to been missing film a little bit and what the view camera can do and just the way film looks and the prints from film look. So I've started to shoot a little film again, and we'll talk about that on the spring trip. There'll be subsequent videos where I think talk about my thought process and delve into that, why I'm sort of moving in a different direction. It may not be exclusively film going forward, but I definitely want to concentrate on the view camera again. I really enjoy that, and I hope you enjoy seeing that on this channel. So, if you haven't subscribed already, please do that and maybe give this video a thumbs up. That really helps the channel to grow, and I really appreciate everyone who's been watching and for following along. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.